welcome to Café de Sciences, which is today the topic virtual theater. Swiss Next China, Science Consulate of Switzerland in China. So as most of you know, so Swiss Next is actually very active in the field of education, research and innovation. So we show the best of Switzerland in this field and we connect the dots in these areas. So we are located in 5 locations around the globe, in Boston, San Francisco, here in China, India and Brazil. So as mentioned, we connected dots in this very innovative fields, so education, research, innovation, and the arts. And this is also one of the topics why we thought it's extremely meaningful to launch a platform which we are actually cultivating, curating since 2 years now. Today is our 24th editions of this monthly event, Café de Sciences, where we give a platform for scientists and a platform for startups to present interesting projects. And today, as most of you are coming here for the topic, we will talk about virtual theater. And please stay tuned to a very, very engaged and active topic interaction with you. We will have a hybrid event, so we will be connected directly with speakers back in Switzerland. So for them, it's morning, and for us here in Shanghai, it's afternoon, evening, and please stay tuned to a very exciting event. So I give the floor now to Sissi. So Sissi is our head of art science, and she will introduce, through the program, but before that, a big thanks to Sissi and her team with Shantong, and behind me also with Sherry and the Swiss Next team. Without them, today's event wouldn't be possible. So please thank them a lot. Now, really, thank you. Now I would like to give the floor to Sissi. Sissi, it's yours.
Thank you, Felix. And hello, everyone. Welcome to join our event today. As Felix has already mentioned, today is our last Café de Sciences lecture in this year. And we've brought in a very special topic on virtual theater. And we've invited 2 speakers from Switzerland. They are Ms. Natacha Koutchoumov and Mr. Gilles Jobin. And they will do a joint presentation on their new project, which is called La Comédie Virtuelle. So Natacha is a co-director of the Geneva Theatre, and Gilles Jobin is a choreographer, dancer, director, and producer. And actually, we've introduced him last year in Shanghai with his work on VRI. It was a virtual dance piece, a contemporary dance piece in virtual reality, and has worked very popular here last year. And today we will hear this joint presentation on their new work. Let's welcome Natacha first. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm very glad to be here, very honored to present the Comédie de Genève, which is, as you might know, certain of you, the main cultural and theatrical institution in the city of Geneva. And we are going through fantastic and challenging times because we are now just experiencing we are investing a new building, a brand new building, and I have pictures to show you and to share with you of this movement we're in right now. So we're a theater that was created in 1913 in an old building, and I will show you the pictures so that you can see where we come from. So this is the, sorry, I will just put a picture so you can see what I'm talking about. And maybe I will go through. So it's an old building from 1913. And we always had some, is it okay? Do you see the picture right now?
Not yet.
No, you don't see.
No, we don't.
Okay.
You need to share your screen.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Sorry, I will just try to do my best. Okay. So if I don't have the images, I will keep on talking. So this
is the green button on.
Yeah,
C'est partager l'écran.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Do you see it now?
I think it's coming on there.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is the old building that was in the center of the city. And this is where we are now. So we used to have this building with only, well, no technology. It was really like an old style, Italian style theater. And now we are finally in this building. And just to explain you, it was a fight for 30 years of artists and technicians who really fought for 30 years to have this new theater in the city. We are an international town and we didn't have an actual real conditions for performing arts in the city, which is very strange. And now finally, although we have COVID and although the building was really much longer to be achieved, we are so proud today to be inside the building. So it's two stages, a large stage, frontal stage, and a modular stage. And we have we program dance, theater, performing arts generally. And as a tradition, it was always artists who were the directors of this venue. So we are a co-directors. I'm Natasha, and I'm a stage director and an actress. And Denis Maillefer is also a co-director, and he's a theater director. As soon as we were elected to that very challenging job we're doing right now, we were, of course, considering the most important artists in our region. And one of them is Gilles Jobin. Gilles Jobin is a choreographer. He will present himself. But what I want to state today is that immediately we thought about him because of his work as a choreographer, of course. And what we admired is that as a choreographer, he explores new ways to express dance and express his talent. And we were absolutely amazed about his piece called VRI, that certain of you might have seen, where he used virtual reality as a component of dance. And that today, what we immediately thought with Denis, my co-director, is a theater of the 21st century has to give space to these new art forms. And since we were building this new architectural masterpiece in the middle of the city, we were thinking, of course, in collaboration with Gilles Jobin, how can we have a space for these new way of creating on stage? And we were still waiting to move out of the old building. We were thinking with Gilles, how wouldn't it be great to be in the new building, although we're not already in the new building? Would it be great to let the audience visit the space before it's finished? And that was the starting point of a big project that Gilles is going to describe to you. Wouldn't it be fantastic to have another venue, a third venue of the Comédie de Genève called Comédie Digitale, where we could create and invite this new, absolutely fantastic new step in on stage for theater and for dance. So now I will let Gilles express and describe this project, and I will hop in every now and then to maybe talk with him.
Maybe I will show some more photos, no? Go through your photos.
Okay, but as you talk, I will start to also show the old theater and the new theater, so you see in what kind of new world we are right now in Geneva. You can start, Gilles, if you want.
Okay, so I'm very happy to be here again. Unfortunately, it's virtually only. Last time I was with my real body into this space. Yes, so today I'm gonna talk a little bit about what I do in terms of virtual work. I'm gonna go through a little presentation of what I do. Yes, I mean, I think, the virtual, the new digital spaces become available to us. I think they are like, I consider them as new territories for the performing arts. I think everything has been, the technology has moved on. Everything is much more accessible. It's easier nowadays to work with this type of technology. So we are very much interested into motion capture, the fact that you can capture movement, integrate it inside a 3D space, and also invite other artists to participate live, even though they are located in different places in the world. So we develop a technology that allows us to connect any motion capture system inside the same virtual space in real time. So for us, I think, these new territories, I often compare to, what happened in the 60s in the States, for instance, when the dancers started to dance on the roof or started to dance in the street, and everybody was saying, oh, this is not dance. If it's not inside the theater, it's not dance. And nowadays, I think it's totally normal to dance in the street or on the roof. And even in the swimming pool, there's many, dance and performing art has been going everywhere. So now it's something that is totally accepted. So I believe that the digital spaces are just new spaces to investigate, new spaces to explore. And it's not about replacing live experiences. It's not about, going virtual and forgetting about the live presence of actors and dancers on a stage in front of a real audience. I think it's just a new media that is not going to replace this media. Now, obviously, with the COVID, this type of question became more urgent to deal with. So for me, as I was working on a project that was a dance project that was supposed to be on stage. And on 13th of March, we had the big lockdown in Switzerland, so we had to stop everything. So for me, it was a big challenging moment to decide what to do. Is it about, interrupting a creation 1.5 months before the premiere? Is it about taking, starting again, trying to present it again in a very difficult situation of diffusion and touring? And, the theaters are closed in Geneva at the moment. We don't know when they're going to open again. So I kind of decided to jump into the digital, like full on, and put on pause everything that was going to be on stage. And I felt that for us, that was the smartest thing to do, is really to dedicate ourselves to the digital. And also that very much accelerated our project with La Comédie, as Natacha was saying. First, the idea was to make a model of the theater, so audience could see it before it's even finished, before it's accessible to them. So we had time to introduce them slowly, and we always thought that La Comédie could be like a real space where we could make real-time performances, invite real-time audience through a server, multi-user type of connection, and having people connected from all over the world. But we felt that, before COVID, this was still a bit of a gadget, and we thought that, that's something that was going to be developed, but maybe not so fast as we did. But when COVID came, we jumped into the digital. And when we talked to the Venice Film Festival about our project of the theater and the project of having multi-user space, they were very enthusiastic, and they said that if we could manage to do this, they would definitely program us into the festival, which was like, for us, a very important moment on many levels. Also, I would say almost psychologically, because we could all have something to do that was really useful and meaningful at the time. So in 2 months, we created our own multi-user system, so we can have people coming in and seeing live performances inside the theater. So this, I'm gonna show some images of all of this. So now I'm gonna share my screen. And hopefully it will work. So let's see. So now you should see my screen and my presentation should start. So if someone can just confirm that it's fine, that you see me and you hear me. Yes, okay.
Sound here?
Yes, is it good? Okay.
Sound in the video?
There's no sound in the video.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, so this is just introduction, and this is probably me being motion captured. That was one of the first experience that we did, and then that's how we started into motion capture. So I started, you know, what my digital creation in 2008. I was already dealing with technology on stage, and then Womb, the 3D movie in 2016 was really like a turning point for me in terms of discovering those 3D spaces. And I think that dance is the art of space. And so our very being able to work in a 3D space was like really so important and so interesting. So we have VRI, Magic Window, which I will come back to, which is an immersive VR piece, Magic Window, an AR piece, Dawn Trail also in augmented reality. Real time, what's the dance duo for stage that we had to stop because of COVID, and then La Comédie Virtuelle, which was this VR multimedia experience, but also with a live show. And then also now recently Cosmogony, which is a video installation, but that we perform in real time from my studio in Geneva. So there's this kind of movement to try to perform from my studio, like you know, like hashtag touring without moving. So this was VRI. Actually, I put the Shanghai poster, and you can see here the artist Lu Yang, Shanghai-based artist, experimenting the piece. Very nice artist, by the way. So this is the space for VRI. That's what we had to set up in Shanghai at the CAC Art Center, and so we have 5 people that can move at the same time into a 8 meter by 5 meter space. They can see themselves as avatars, and they can see. They can also talk with the other people, and they can interact between each other. And they can move freely into the space. So I'm going to show a bit of a video, a little trailer of VRI, so you can see what it's all about. So we were in this piece, we were playing with scales. So we had like a very tall dancer, 35-meter high dancers, and also small dancers. What you see is the vision from a spectator point of view through the headset. And here you can see some of the participants. This was in New York, and they were like really enjoying themselves and dancing. So people had a lot of interaction. That was in Lyon. The piece has been traveling a lot. It has there was a lot of interest for this piece from you know, dance festivals, but also like more tech festival or even film festival. And I think that the very strong sensation that was in Venice, the very strong sensation for people was this embodiment, this digital embodiment, to be somebody else, to be yourself, but with a different avatar and being able to interact. And you see, we even have avatar for wheelchair users, which made them much more comfortable. So, you know, kids, adults, we had a very, very diverse audience in many different countries. And it was very interesting for us to see, you know, to see how we interact with them. And this, so then after this piece, we moved on to making, to work in augmented reality. So if in VRI, we were inviting people inside the virtual world, with the augmented reality is the contrary. We invite the dancers inside our world. So through, you see there's some images actually we did in China. So we did a lot of tryouts, and I placed a lot of dancers in many different situations. On the top left, this is a location-based installation, so people can trigger animation, and they will be placed into space, so they will be related to the building, in this case, the Ola des Cèdres in Lausanne. So we did a lot of tryouts and a lot of different research for this. And at the end of the day, we have this location-based app, but we also have an app called the Dance Trail, which is available on the App Store, actually. And you can install it on your phone. It's compatible for iPhone or iPads. And it's a fun app where you can really place dancers in museum, outdoors, and you can record, or you can make photos and share them on social network if you want. Okay, so now let me. So there is, you know, many different possibilities. On the left, you can see that we can use like this is a beer coaster that triggers an animation, so we can use images to trigger animation. On the top right, this is a party, a VR party that we organized for the film festival in Amsterdam recently. And below is the video installation that we do in real time. So we found many different ways and many different platforms and spaces to bring this dance, and that was a little bit the idea, to bring the dance into different support and not always on stage. So it can be on it can be an app, it can be a VR project, it can be a video. There's so much that you can do with the digital that you can modify as much as you want. There's a great liberty, some constraint, but also a great liberty. So let me move on. Oops, what's going on? Come on. Okay, so this is La Comédie Virtuelle. So as Natacha was saying, that's something that we started in 2017, and it took us about a year to make the model of this new theater. So it was not built, so we had to go like in the building work, make some photos, trying to catch the details, to make like a pretty realistic vision of the space. So the idea was to make this model of this new theater for people to visit, but also to create a creation of a real-time stage. So we could integrate in real time dancers or actors and start to make projects that could be seen in real time inside the theater or as a digital program. So that's why we want to develop a digital program of welcoming, pieces that have been done before, but also creation, research, and really with a focus on the performing art. So we believe that there is we have an intuition. The performing art has a good intuition for all these kind of digital process, and I think it has to do with the real-time situation. So we choreographers and theater directors who are like real-time specialists, what we do is in real time, the audience is in real time, and we deal with the real time of the audience. So this is something that is quite natural to us. So I felt when I was working in the digital that I had a lot of good intuitions and a lot of skills that I could apply from the performing art, from directing on stage, that I could apply directly into VR and this kind of very unique position of the spectator. The spectator in VR is himself, herself, moving, deciding what to look. So you cannot force them to see what you want them to see. You have to suggest, you have to attract them to go somewhere. You have to think about how they're going to move inside a 3D space. And that's a very different approach than the cinema. And somehow it feels closer to the performing art. So here you see what you see is the comédie. So this is some vision from a spectator moving around, and there is many different spaces. Here this is the set workshop where you have those kind of digital beams being organized. So what we wanted to do is to have like that the visit of the theater should be a nice visit and not like just an empty building. That's why we put some animation inside. They are in loop, so you can come anytime you want and you will always see something happening as you would do in a real theater. But then we moved on to this live performance. And this, let me show you an excerpt of the live performance. So here you can see, this is the audience, and you can see they have their name over their head. So these little avatars are real audience in real time, connected from many different countries. We had up to 16 countries connected, people from China, South Africa, South America, North America, Europe, of course. So the idea for this piece that we have 3 dancers in Geneva in my studio. And we have 1 dancer in Bangalore, Dia, and 1 dancer in Sydney, that's Victoria. And they are all 5 of them together in the same virtual space. So you can see them, all 5 of them on this grid. And this grid represents the motion capture space. So they are related into this grid, they appear into this grid, and that's how they interact with each other. And on the other side of the room, you have the result of that interaction. So now you can see we changed the set, and now they're in some kind of a forest. And I think you have seen before that there was 3 screens. And these 3 screens have it's a live stream from where they are. So you can see Dia where she's in Bangalore, you can see Victoria in Sydney, and you can see us in the studio. And we put a clock beside the 3 screen that you see on the other side of the room, and that gives the actual time of where they are, because we felt that it was important for people to know and to realize that it's really people are really performing live. So we played with the multiplication of the avatars, like changing the avatars. So like, you know, like you see now, Joseph, he's performing with himself. So we had we had to invent a lot of tricks and ideas to make this thing work. And I think it was a very exciting moment for us and a very stimulating, even though we had a very short amount of time. So we built the whole thing in 2 months, and we create our own multi-user network. And that was also a very big challenge to be able to do this. So we did everything from scratch. We don't rely on any existing platform or tech. We just develop our own tech, and that's a little bit our new philosophy now, is really to be as self-sufficient as possible, so we don't depend on licenses or, you know, like startup that maybe change their goal and then they go to another direction and you lose the technology. So we want to be independent as possible, and also open source as possible. So that means that what we develop, which by the way is developed in general with public funding, so we think it's okay to share our experiment with other artists that would be interesting. So here I'm showing you the other side of the performance, which is what we do in our studio. So you can see Camilo, he's our creative director and technology. So he's receiving all the different motion capture into one single unity. And here on the right, this is Hugo, our mocap master, and he's now following and actually taking care of the motion capture.
1 minute to go, guys.
And Camilo is the one who is sending the different change of scene and effects. So here we are live. So we are performing here, but people are seeing it for the Venice Festival, but from wherever they are, because it was 100%
really?
Online.
We share the red?
Yeah.
Okay. Because this one's a little bit further this way. Isn't it?
I think you hear the sound of the people. So the dancers, they are connected as we are now with the Zoom connection, and they have earphones, so they can speak to each other. So they give a lot of instructions, and while they speak to each other, the audience don't hear it, because you see there are only 3 here, but in total there are 5. So they have to look at different monitors to stay connected and to be able to see where they are into space and interact with each other.
Okay, that's this side. Ready? We share the red?
Yeah.
Okay. Because this one's a little bit further this way. Isn't it?
Well, I mean, this is the height of it, but I'm going to pretend that.
Okay, so now the show is about to start.
Okay, I'm gonna go calibrate.
And I think you can hear them talking.
I'm going to calibrate. Calibrating. I'm slightly off today. Where's my androgen? Where are you?
Over here. That's it.
Oh, I see him there.
I'm sliding, huh? Sorry. Yeah. I try.
Okay, let's take it forward.
Hang on.
Sliding. I'm just going to calibrate.
There you are. Okay.
Can I go invest more time in my avatar?
Yeah.
Where are you, Joseph?
Back here. Around the big tree.
Oh, there you are.
Okay, so basically we had this kind of meta connection on top of it, and that was really like we talk about the new normal, and this is what like really like super new normal, because we would connect every day for 3 or 4 hours, and there was this kind of normality of getting connected. Hello, how are you? And the dancer had that little discussion before the rehearsal was starting. So we really felt connected in a very complicated moment in a lockdown, when we were all thinking that we were just apart from each other, and so this technology really allowed us to stay connected, to continue working. Everybody was very depressed around us, and nobody like being stopped like brutally, really. So we managed to continue to do things, and that was super exciting. That helped us a bit forget about this about the situation. When we came out of the Venice Festival, which was in September, so if you look at the timeline, we're talking about March, when we had to stop, little bit of time to get our things together and start to have a new project for Venice. Venice will confirm our participation in June, and we open in September. I mean, late August, end of August. So everything were like super quick. So we were very busy and also working remotely, because we couldn't be together in the studio. So it was like a typical, if there is any typical new normal situation, but it gave us a lot to think about. First, how interesting, as such it is. How amazing is it to be able to connect at a distance with people, artists, and collaborate, not only to make a result as a performance, but just the fact that we can work together and research together and be connected together for many hours every day, and move on. And we have this kind of a digital company, which is all those dancers that we work with. There are about 5 or 6 of them that we regularly work with them, and you will find them in all of our digital pieces, in VRI, in Dance Trail, Magic Window. It's they're all the same dancers. And we have these 2 dancers that we like very much, Tia, which is in Bangalore, and Victoria, which is in Sydney, Australia. And just now it's just unfeasible to make them come over in Switzerland to work with us. So that was a way to maintain the relation, to continue to work. And I think it has been inspiring for us, but also inspiring for other artists. We see now in virtual theater some different experiences. The National Theatre in London has a very interesting digital program. The Royal Shakespeare Company as well. They're producing work. So, Royal Shakespeare Company is like a big institution in England, and they're really thinking forward. They're using Shakespeare's writing from 1,000 years ago. I don't know how many 100 years ago. And but they're also planning for the future. So I think there is really this movement of thinking, there is new spaces for theater. There's new spaces for dance. There has been also some experiences that you can see on the social VR platforms, such as VR Chat. There was one project in Venice called Pandora's Box, which was a play, like really a play. I mean, I wouldn't say classical, but in the sense that they were like actors and talking with the story, and you could participate going to a VR chat with the VR equipment, and you just join the VR chat platform, and then you enter their space and you can follow them through the performance. And there's another one which I haven't seen, which is called The Tempest, which I think is old, which is from Shakespeare, by the way, and I think it's also happening in VR chat. National Theatre has produced a beautiful piece called All Kind of Limbo, which is with a singer, and it's a really beautiful piece in VR. So there's quite some experiences that are starting to pop out. There is also in Asia, Korea, and Japan, I've spotted some hip hop dancers doing battles in VR. They put, like simple markers and equipment, and they start interacting with each other, also into VR chat or this kind of VR social platform. So there is really something, I think, that is happening that is going to develop over the years. I think there's an interest and an advantage, which is that, for collaboration, simultaneous collaboration, it's a very interesting and I think we, in the future, maybe we might think twice before we come to China, before we travel to Japan, so we probably there's quite a lot of things that we can do in pretty good condition, pretty good working condition to move on into new projects. So we might save some traveling time, and is a interesting collaboration. So we have developed a project called Virtual Crossings. That's a project that is supported by Pro Helvetia. Pro Helvetia is the Arts Council of Switzerland, and there was this kind of COVID project called Close Distance, and the idea was to apply for a project that precisely connect artists across the world and using those new medias to work in a collaborative manner. So we did this project, we got the fund, and we have done one already in Buenos Aires. So the idea is to connect with another group of digital artists and movers around motion capture. So they had a Kinect to do the motion capture on their side, and we were on the Qualisys, which is the Qualisys is the mocap system that we have. Our optical cameras, very good quality and very precise. So we did this. There was like a couple of weeks ago, and in a very few sessions, we managed to make a piece that is okay. I mean, a 15-20 minute piece with two dancers dancing live in Argentina and Susanna dancing live from my studio. So this is something that we want to do in Shanghai. We are already talking with Swiss Next about this and other partners, and we hope that we will find also some geeks, Shanghai geeks and movers that are interested to connect with us and to do this collaborative work. I know you have a lot of geeks in Shanghai, so I'm very confident we will find. And yeah, so that's a little bit our new way to work now. And the next thing is also now we have to start to talk with La Comédie about the development of this digital project, become like more, what concretely we will do. We also received some new funding for finishing the live piece by the Cineforum, which is a cinema new innovation fund. And this will allow us to rework this live piece that we've done so quickly. And I think there's so many possibilities that we can still do. So we're going to finish the piece, and this will open hopefully in June in Geneva and across the world. And also hopefully there will be some other events around this, so stay tuned. But we don't know what's the situation, because in Switzerland is very bad. It's not like China where you can go to the theater and have all this nice gathering and you're not even wearing mask anymore. But in Switzerland it's like a disaster, just like in the rest of Europe. And Christmas time is going to be boring, and we don't know. We don't know if we're going to be able to open anything. All the theaters are closed at the moment in Geneva. So we don't know. I mean, it's really a big mystery. So we're still considering doing an online only event at the moment. So yeah, now it's a little bit different now. So now we think about online event and maybe we add some live audience things. And before we're doing the contrary, we had some live events, and maybe we switched to virtual. So I think we will start by an online project, and then maybe we can add some presential or hybrid, which is the new thing also, to mix presential and digital. So yeah, so I think that's the main thing that I'm doing. I think I went through a bit quickly, but I think you got it. If you go to our website, of course, you can find some more detailed information. You can reach out to me if you want to know more about one or another project. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of my presentation, and I'm of course happy to take questions before we move on to the panel.
All right. Thank you, Gilles and Natasha, for this great presentation. I think we all learned a lot about it. And I believe there are many questions from the audience as well, but we will do the Q&A part at the end of the event. So we'll directly go to the panel discussion part. And we have 3 other guests who will join us for this panel. So we have Ms. Ophelia Huang, who is Director of International Projects in Shanghai Dramatic Arts Center. And we also have Mr. Zhang Yuan, who is the curator of the Performing Arts program at Ming Contemporary Art Museum. So both of the 2 speakers will join us on site here in Shanghai. Let's welcome to the stage. And we also have another guest who is joining from Macau, and he is Eric Kwong. He's Managing and Creative Director of Creative Links. So let's also give him a welcome. I think we can switch to gallery view so we can see all of them on the screen. So yes, performing arts are greatly impacted this year due to the pandemic. And there are actually a lot of discussion going on about looking for new forms of theater. And I'd like to ask our Chinese and Macau speakers have you ever involved in these discussions? What is your opinion on this? Oh, okay, all right. Eric, would you mind start?
Okay, thank you very much to have me here, and then thanks, Gilles, give us a very interesting idea of using VR on theater. So just from your presentation, I'm very interested about the work. I'm looking forward to really have the opportunity to participate as an audience as well. Yeah, I think the audience will be it's a new way for the audience to go to the theater. Maybe, yeah, even Macau, we can go to theater right now, but I can't travel. I can't go to other theater in the world to see other performance. And I think virtual theater is one of the very important future for the theater maker. So I think we take this opportunity to look into that and then find a new way to work creating theater. It's very interesting. And I myself, I did a lot of immersive theater, you can say immersive theater in the past, and then we did site-specific immersive theater. But I always thinking that how to work on that if people, I mean the people is not, the audience is not live in the site. How can they participate in that? That is what I'm exploring, and then try to work on that, how the digital and live work together. So I would like to ask you if you have the experience that, because now I see a lot of digital world, I mean the totally new digital world, but I'm thinking of how the digital world that combining with the live world. I mean, do you have this kind of experience that can share with us?
Well, I mean, the thing is, in terms of audience, first you have to think that there is quite a lot of, there's about 50% of the people that book really show up. So for many different reasons, maybe they don't have the right connection, or they don't have the right equipment, or they didn't understand. So you need to give some technical support. You need to be like a bit close to the audience, make sure that the audience have someone to talk to and to call in case they cannot connect or they are lost somewhere. And then there is this problem, I think, which is that your audience is wherever they are. So they can be in their kitchen, in their bathroom, on their living room, you don't know. And you don't really control their equipment. So you don't know if they have a good sound, you don't know what they see. So this is, and also you don't know about their concentration. So you don't know what is around them. So are they really concentrated? Can they really get into it? The advantage of VR is that when you are connected and you are inside, you're inside. So there's no doubt about that. There's no transition. People really dive into your project in VR. I think it's a little bit more difficult when you do it only with 2D images. But then, again, I think it depends. It's probably very different if it's a 20-minute piece or if it's a 1-hour piece, if it's a narrative piece that you need to follow, or is it something that lasts for many hours. So, we will encounter very similar problems that we encounter in real theater. And what was really funny about the Comédie Virtuelle when we did it for Venice, the people will appear in front of the theater. So they had to find their way through the theater. So they had to go through the theater and find the space like they would do in a normal show. We put a yellow line for them to follow, but still we had some people that would get lost and we had to go and gather them, try to, find them. So it's like getting, imagine that you have audience that have never been to the theater in their life, that don't know what's a theater, they don't know how it works, so, so it's quite fun. I mean, it has this kind of, there was this kind of expectation. You could feel people kind of waiting and being nervous because the show's about to start, or maybe someone was running late and we have to go and fetch them and no, please follow me. And then you don't know if they hear you. So, there was all this kind of communication type of problems, but, I think there's a learning curve. So I think also the audience will learn how to behave in this kind of environment. They need to have more experience. For many people, it's their first experience. So that means that there's a lot of mediation that we need to do as organizers and presenters. So, and this is difficult because people will, connect at the very last moment. Even profession, I mean, you will be amazed how many professions we had lost in space, we had to fetch them. So, is not as straightforward as you would hope, but I mean, what worked really well, what in comedy, because in the comedy, the real comedy, we had the satellite from Venice. So we had 5 VR headsets. So people would go physically to the real theater, get equipped with support by technician and staff. So they get they explain how to do it. And then this one is location based. That works really well. So that was the big tendency, the big trend before COVID was location based. So it was like you go to a festival, you go to a place, you get equipped, and you don't have to worry about the tech. You don't have to worry about the hardware because it's being taken care of for you. So if you can have real audience, it's much easier if you can mediate them and introduce them to the tech and you have your own headsets. Now, in terms of diffusion, it's also a bit problematic because you need to find venues that have the equipment, or you have to find venues that will be ready to jump into a live performance. So, one of our idea, for instance, is to try to perform like many days, so we can, from where we are, then we can add organizers. Okay, well, that weekend we're going to be performing, so you want to join this performance, and you want, you buy, I don't know, 10 tickets or 15 tickets for your audience or more. So there is new possibilities. You could be 2 or 3 organizers together presenting the same live show, and you just co-produce it somehow. Everybody participate, and that makes it cheaper, to run the Comédie Virtuelle, I need 8 people, 5 dancers and about 3 technicians, So that's, it's quite expensive. But what we do, we have the piece is about 30 minutes, so we can do it 2 or 3 times in a row. So that maximizes the audience as well. So there's a lot of new problems and new solutions.
Thank you, Gilles. I think you've already covered some questions that we supposed to discuss afterwards. But I'd like to ask Ophelia and if the Shanghai Dramatic Arts Center has tried any other formats during the pandemic, and are there any solutions to this?
Yeah, well, also we had rather short period of close down, and comparing with our European colleagues, we did some experiments or a new format of transmitting our performance online. And for example, I think that was in May or early June, that actually before the theater could reopen again to public, that we did a new show which was performed on stage live, but with no audience. And the audience could access and watch the play through both online and offline projection. So we did online transmission on one of the biggest video platform on Bilibili. And then also there was a offline projection outside on a outdoor plaza in one of the community. And that was quite cozy because audience can drink a beer and they can have some food and while watching it. So we actually get a very huge number. And I think that's one of the advantage of digital media, is sometimes you get really, really big audience number, and it's good for reporting. But at the same time, of course, there are these questions, as Joe mentioned, that because this virtual space is somehow a kind of an extra layer on top of what is already going on in a live experience. So, and I guess like a lot of the audience here today, if you have spent a lot of time on Zoom in the past months, you see what I mean, that our attention span is quite short, is much shorter. And sometimes it becomes very easy to get tired after hours of online talking. So yeah, so that was our experience, but luckily enough, not to quite soon after that, the theater was open again. And so now we are kind of a business as usual, and there is a lot of domestic touring, live experience. There had been some discussion in the first half of this year among theater professionals online, talking about, okay, what it means to us, and how can digital or technology, how can that be of help to our situation. But I think that this context of the discussion in China probably is quite different from our European colleagues, because I can see that in Europe, especially right now, is the pandemic is keeping everyone at home, while technology has the potential to link people together. But increasingly, I feel personally that the reality here in China is actually technology is keeping people at home more and more. And because now you can order everything from your phone, and people are very, very used to do that. And people are, or at least those tech tycoons is trying to make you more reliant on that. So instead, I think as an artist, or especially as an institute, I personally think that our not mission, but maybe preference or a way to think about this is to really on the other side of the technology, and how on the ethical side, and how we can be cautious about that through artwork. So. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting view, and we also had a discussion before this event that we are receiving less and less on-site audience since we had Zoom and online broadcasting, because people are
more used to that format and they would like to stay at home, especially in this cold winter. So for Zhang Yuan, since you're leading the experimental programs at the Ming Contemporary Art Museum, I'd like to know if are you also involved in these discussions, and what is your opinion on that?
First of all, I think thanks to the wine and the sugar provided by the organizer, I think I'm becoming virtual slowly. But yes, so yeah. Actually, we rarely do digital performances in our institution. And for me, I'm observing what's going on. Yes, so the only experiment that we had is in this April, where I found that the artists that are performing in the museums without audience, and I was being told that they were more like rehearsing. So, but I keep the option open. So for me, I mean, whatever is the virtual theater is open for discussion at the moment. Yes, when you talk about virtual reality, actually you're talking about regarding performing arts, you're talking about what is now, actually. So I love the idea that shared by Mr. Gilles, that he's talking about the real time, or that this performance is being done in real time with the dancers' performance throughout the world. Yeah. But is real time the now in the performing arts? So I think this is open for discussion. And when you talk about dance, actually what interests me most is only two things. On one side, I'm concerning about the vocabulary of the dance itself, which means that being the dance, the movement itself, and how it would change, how it would be innovated or evolved. And the second thing, for sure, is that how it connects with us, with the people. So that's exactly how I look at how the digital, whatever the technology, is going to influence, how to change what we have for in the performing art. As you know, I mean, for the theater, actually, theater is for me, it's like a vehicle. So actually, it is something that is keep updated and keep adopting the new technology at the time. Because when you were in last century, you don't have this projection, or you don't have this like the new media technology. In the theater, you only have the performers, the body, or the mechanic systems like the lightings or the sound system. That's all. But then we have the new media, we have projection, we have more and more technology being incorporated into the theater world, the universe of theater. So I think that's quite a natural process. I never worry about that how the new technology being involved in it. But I don't think whatever you call it, virtual reality or virtual theater, would be the alternative for the theater, I mean for the non-theater, instead of for the real-time theater. I don't know. I mean, this is still I'm not quite sure about. And actually, I have before I ask a question towards Mr. Gilles. Actually, today the topic and what being presented reminds me of the current exhibition that we are doing at the moment in our museum. It's called The Player of the Beings. So it's actually addresses the history of the games, the video games, and how the artist is using the concepts or the idea of games to make their works. And to some extent, I feel that the virtual reality and what the works being presented today is kind of essentially close to the games. Yeah. I mean, not about whether you're going to win or lose that side, but how it is being unfolded, how it is being connected with the people. Yeah. So next time that I would like to pose a question towards Mr. Gilles, because I find in the post, I think is by Swissnex or by the WeChat post. I mean about the idea of future theater. What do you call it? La
Comédie Virtuelle.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So Mr. Gilles says that the evolution of VR or virtuality is part of the logic of how the modern dance can develop. Very clear? Translation may not be very precise. That means that do you have me? A little bit of virtual, sorry. So that means the logic of the modern dance development consists of the evolution of VR technology. So that captures my attention. So I would like to ask Mr. Gilles, how is this something really, I mean, said by you, and what's your interpretation towards it? Thank you very much.
I'm not sure exactly about this quote precisely. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I was interested in the digital question before COVID. So it's not a reaction to COVID, and it's not the idea of replacement. It's not about replacing something that cannot happen and then we find something else. I think it's different. It's just a new media. There are new spaces. And the theater and maybe dance, maybe a little bit more in dance, but performing arts in general have always been technological because first we started to light with candles, and then we had the electricity, and then we had mechanical movement that came from the boats. Actually, people that were working on boats, then they were working in theater when they were getting old. So they brought a lot of the technology from the boats into the theater. All the ropes and all these movements with ropes came from the tech, which was the high tech of the time. These boats that were crossing to go to the Americas. So I think there's a lot of technology that you don't see in theater, and every time more. All the new theater, La Comédie is like an example of a brand new, full-on digital theater. They have like multi-diffusion sound system. But you're not going to notice, but you're going to hear like the actor like talking to your ear, and you're not going to know how they did it. But that's that's the dispositive they have, which is new, and it just was not available 20 years ago, probably. So this movement is going on. And also, I think let's not forget that technology and also the digital is integrated into live performances. So you talked about projections. We've seen like, from the 1980s, 90s, like an invasion of video projection in every production because it was becoming available. So video projection now is like common in theater to, add elements, narrative elements or whatever. Dance has always been interested in new technology. Merce Cunningham is a big example, the American choreographer that is a pioneer in the video art field. We used videos. Videos for us was a big transformation in the way we work. We work differently using the video. Before, you had to film yourself in a Super 8, send the Super 8 to reveal, and then 3 weeks later have the images back. Now you can film yourself, sit directly, and even share it on the internet. So this is like a constant evolution of tools. And I see the digital as a tool, not as a result. So my result is my result because that's my aesthetic and that's what I decided to do. But the tools we are developing are tools that we can share with other artists and other creators because they can have a very different approach to the tools that we have. And at the end of the day, a stage is a tool where you bring, you know, artists together and audience in front, and that's the tool. And it has a lot of pre-established norms. You know, that's why we can tour. We can tour a dance piece or a theater piece because there is a norm. There's some norms that are established. A theater, you know, the bar and the projector, they're all the same. So you can reproduce, you know, without bringing your own equipment. So there's always been this kind of back and forth with technology, I think, in the art. And when you talk about video games, I think that the video games and the mechanic of video games has also infiltrated the performing arts, also on stage. I think algorithm has infiltrated what we do. We start to use algorithm to work, but also algorithm like type of algorithm, like to construct a piece, like giving instruction, you know, to dancers or to actors, like a set of instruction, and they can, you know, just play the rule of the game, and that's the piece, you know, like a football game or like any sport, which at the end of the day, you teach the rules and then you can play the game very well if you're a professional, very bad if you're an amateur, but you still know the rules. So I think there's a lot of porosity and transversal movement, and we are all living now in the contemporary world. And you know, Zoom, you know, I didn't even know Zoom was existing before the pandemic, and now it's like it's almost a word. So you know, we adapt and we evolve. But I just want to say that before the COVID, the big thing was really location based. So you bring the dance, I mean, you bring the equipment to your space and you bring the people to the real space. So you still have this contact with the audience and you can still see how they interact. So I think there is really new spaces for us to explore. And dance has the advantage of being mostly abstract, and in general, there's no speaking, so it's not narrative as such. So it's a good framework for experimenting, because you don't need to stick to a story. You can just kind of play in a kind of meaningful ways. You know, dance carries meaning, but it's not narrative. Like most of the time, but theater is very narrative most of the time, and cinema also obviously is very narrative, even though of course there is abstract theater and abstract cinema, but you know, in general. So I think there's a lot of possibilities for us, and now we're also we're teaching some motion capture workshop, for instance, to audience. I mean, to like dancers, and we want also to move on to theater makers, because we think even in the formation, it's important now to know that this exists, that this is a motion capture system, that it works like this, and if dancer can have the chance to experiment, is a very good skill for them to know that it exists, and also as creators to know that this exists. That is, you know, what is the pipeline of production, what kind of people you need to have involved to make a project. And now we have this thing that we can even perform without touring. So, you know, it kind of helps us rethink, you know, what is presence, why is being there. And I just want to finish with the what I call the digital embodiment. And digital embodiment is like an experience that people were experimenting in VRI because they could feel their body as an avatar and interact with another avatar, which is their friend or someone they know or somebody they don't know. And I had the chance to experiment with a dancer that I didn't know, that was for a TV program that we had to do at a distance because of the COVID. And she's a choreographer, the presenter, Sylvia Camarda. And we danced together on stage of La Comédie Virtuelle, and we never met before. And that was a strange sensation. I mean, that was really, you know, like, you know, I've been dancing a lot and I had a lot of different partners, and there was this kind of moment that you meet for the first time and they say, okay, well, do this, do that. And you have to kind of do things together physically and you don't know each other. And it's always a little bit awkward. And then I had exactly the same sensation in the digital world. So I felt awkward, but now I feel especially connected to Sylvia, which finally I met her, and we knew each other when we met. So, you know, there's something also that is about uncharted territories, and that's interesting to explore. And it would be interesting if you had the opportunity to speak to those actors that work in VR, that did this Pandora's box. And I met a few of them at a distance, and it's interesting also to hear, you know, what is their situation performing in South Africa from their home and being one of the character of the Pandora's box project. You know.
Thank you, Gilles. Since we are a little bit behind our schedule, I'd like to ask Natacha. Since we, in our last meeting, you mentioned about this project will be a long-term project. And I think it might be interesting for our Chinese audience and also to the producers and artists. So how can they access to this project, and what is your plan on this?
So we will launch the Comédie Digitale, as Gilles explained. It's a real, you know, it's a venue with some creations and some invitations of shows. And everything is brand new, so we are inventing this concept together in a way of producing it, inventing it, finding funds to do it. But of course, the dream would be that we could have, you know, public from all over the world, and we have to facilitate the access to these platforms. So of course, as Gilles said, we could invent a way to have, as we just did with the Venice Festival, different venues being partners and having the technology to have the public be with us live. Or we could also offer some, we could facilitate the public to access from their home. So, but really everything has to be invented, and that's what we're working on. So it's, as Gilles said, everything went really fast since he was selected in Venice, and we are now inventing the concept. And to tell you the truth, we also have to convince our politicians, because since it's a new era, they also have to understand that now, as Gilles said, we're not only, it's not so innovative, we're just in the tradition of theater. We're just, you know, absorbing what's real today, and that's what artists do. But sometimes, since we're a public theater, we also have to convince them that it's the new reality of arts. But so, you know, they are very easy to convince when they see the show, because all of them, when they go through the show, and just if I can add, it's the most fantastic reactions we have from any crowds, as Gilles said, kids, but also our politicians, because when they do it, when they put those glasses and they enter this world, they suddenly understand the most enigmatic pieces. They accept contemporary dance in the most, you know, how do you say, a not realistic form, because of this new media. So we are really hoping that we can facilitate the access to the shows. That's the idea. And what I dream is that we could have also, and that's also, I think, Gilles' dream, one of his dreams, and it's already happening, to have live shows on the virtual stage, but also live shows on the real stage, with a mix of, you know, we could have audience sitting in China, but being actually next to real people in Geneva, looking at a live show on the Geneva stage. That would be the next level. So to answer your questions, I don't have all the answers, because we're inventing the answers. And I really expect Gilles to keep inventing a lot.
Well, we have this idea, and one of the plan that we have, which is to have to collaborate, and we're talking about China on this, and to have Chinese dancers on one side, dancers in Geneva on stage. So the audience in Geneva would see the Geneva dancer on stage with projection of the interaction from China in the background, and same in China. So you would have two audiences watching the same live show, but with the different interpreters. So this is something that is already feasible technologically. So we already tested this. So we know that it works. What you're saying, Natasha, I think we already did it somehow, that they were not sitting in a theater, they were walking about in the virtual space, the real virtual space of the real space. And we had audience from Geneva saying, oh, you know, there was this audience, they were speaking in Chinese. I didn't, you know, where are they coming from China? So, you know, like we really had this moment of having like 16 or 15 different nationalities connected from wherever they are. So that was also part of the experience for the audience, this kind of strange sensation of being with other people you don't know. And we saw people having discussion like in real life. Some people are more shy, some people are more talky, and some people had interesting conversation with people they never met before. So, you know, all this is a big experimental space.
Maybe what I can, sorry.
We will take last question from our audience. So if what?
It's
We didn't hear, I didn't hear anything. It was totally cut. I think this microphone is not so good.
That's another new technology. It's really a great program. And if I can dance with my dream fair, it's going to be great. It can be anybody's face, not yours, of course. And I think VR is really a great experience. When I first experienced it a few years ago, I think it needed a few years because of all this resolution issue and transmission speed. For example, right now the resolution is high enough, but if in VR glass, it's going to be magnified a few times. So the resolution needs to be like 4 times. But right now the resolution is already majority cost, everything is great. So you need 4 times resolution, the additional cost, and it's a niche small market only for VR. Normal screen don't need that high resolution, only under magnifier. So this cost gonna take a long time because no screen factory has this motivation to increase it, to make it cheaper, more principle what it's not going to be really effective here. Those is one, and another, I can still say delay. So it's about the speed. Even 5G, I see if too many device here, so the fiber cable is not enough. You know, like 20% times like a few giga, then the cable here is overloaded. So what's other problem you think? VR, I think, is great. Although, for example, the dancers, they pursue perfect. Want junior to replay, you know, slowly. Oh, okay.
The microphone is cutting. We lost you.
And also the museum theater are enemy of VR, so they won't like it. But purely for the technical part, what do you think the VR is advantage and obstacle for now?
Well, I mean, in terms of, first, most of the VR headsets are not in HD. Okay, so it's like a stereo. So of course you have 2 screens, so you double, but most of the VR like Oculus, HTC Vive, they're not in HD. There is some headsets that are in HD. And I mean, you have different problems. One thing is like when you render in post-production, or if you're in real time. So in real time, you need to calculate everything in real time. So in VR, you're in a live space. So that means everything you see is being calculating in real time. So that's obviously slow down the possibilities. But, you know, the question of latency and lag is a bit more complex than just fiber or not. It's really about where you have your servers, how do you spread information. You have to find like little tricks, like for instance, in Buenos Aires, what we did is that they were running the Unity project in Buenos Aires, and we were only sending the motion capture data to them. So that's not a lot of data. And that was very smooth for them. And we had the feedback, we had one on the stream through a Zoom call or Discord, which is similar. So, but we had problems in the Comédie Virtuelle to have like a live stream. So the video stream we have inside has a 30-second delay, and we couldn't manage to take out this 30-second delay. So, there's a lot of kind of bottlenecks that you will find in the way, and they're not necessarily where you think they are. One of the big problems we had with the Comédie Virtuelle live show was to have those servers. So we have a lot of servers. We had to buy to rent different servers on Amazon, on different countries. And for instance, to try with real audience, we couldn't, have like 40 or 50 people connecting from all the world to test. So they produced some bots. So we had some bots that were working about the comedy coming from different places. And then they had some Japanese bots, and they realized that the Japanese bots were slowing down everything. It was a disaster. Like that was 3 days before the opening. So that means that our developer, he has to dig like really deep into the internet, like the internet structure, to find out how to go around this problem. Because the problem was that these bots had a bad connection, and everybody was, aligning to their bad connection. So everybody was having a bad connection. So we had to change and say, no. Whatever connection you have, you get what you get. So people who had bad connection will have maybe a worse experience than the one that had a good one. So there's a lot of little hidden problems that you find on the way in terms of tech. So I don't think there is one answer to this. Really, is really to have really good developers and with smart ideas. And the optimization of your project is the main question. You need to always optimize your project, because otherwise it's either too heavy, or it's not going to run on the machine, or you're going to have some lagging. So there's always this negotiation between the quality and the process and the calculation time from the computer and the machine that you have at disposition. If you work, in a very well equipped. In China, you have the problem with the VPN, for instance. Some things for some software you need a VPN, and maybe we can go around the VPN. So this kind of thing you need to test. There's nobody can give you the answer before. You need to try it. We think we don't need a VPN to do our live show, by the way, in China. So that's what we think, but we need to try, So we're also looking for a partner for that, by the way, to make some tests.
Thank you. I think we will leave this question to the scientists and technological experts to solve this problem. And we will bring the scientists and technologists to the artists. And that's what we are doing here, to bring the science and art together. So I think we are approaching to the end of our event, and we still have some questions online, and we will forward to our speakers to continue the discussion. And I think virtual theater and also the virtual reality, it's not all about technology. It's also about how would you communicate to your audience, and it's a lot of work behind this. And I also hope the discussion would continue afterwards. And today, actually, on our event room, we have brought in a desktop version for to access to this La Comédie Virtuelle project. And we also have Evelyn here, who is co-working with Gilles in presenting this project. So for our on-site audience, you can have an experience on that computer. So I'd like to thanks to all our speakers today. And yeah, we hope the discussion goes on afterwards. Thank you. And if you still have,
so much.
You can write to us at artscience@swissnextchina.org. And you could also follow us on our social media channels to see our further updates. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.